It's the internet, you're busy, let's do this. Welcome to the GamesBeat Decides podcast. This is the podcast where we decide everything happening in the world of video games so you don't have to think for yourself. I'm your host, Jeffrey Grubb. With me is...
Mike Minotti, and I'm hungry.
Is it time to eat food, Mike? Are you always hungry, or is it this like the real hunger? Is this the real hunger?
Like a real hunger, because I'm just thinking already about like Thanksgiving and stuff. Also, it's kind of dinner time, I guess, but...
I was going to say, because that's not real hunger if you're just thinking about Thanksgiving. That's just you thinking about food. But no,
well, I guess it is also dinner time. But yes, I meant more. Yeah, I want, carbs.
I'm hungry in a more spiritual way to get on with this podcast, Mike. So
there's something spiritual about you.
It's metaphysically and emotionally. I'm emotionally hungry to talk about the news, some games, and we're gonna be talking about preparing for kind of game of the year, maybe a little catch up. Just kind of like prep work. That's all. First, though, I want to thank everyone for joining us. You can get more from me and Mike at GamesBeat.com. If you have something to share with us, you can email the podcast at games+podcast@VentureBeat.com. There's also, you can get us on Twitter at GamesBeat or at GB Decides. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch, there's an audio version, and you can get that on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and everywhere else. Finally, if you like the show, rate us on Apple Podcast because it helps somehow. So, Mike.
Yo.
What's it like to have 999 moons?
It's pretty good because it's a lot of moons. Yeah,
that is a lot of moons. It's more than Jupiter has.
I think we can safely say it's probably more than
just a handful. But yes, I think I'm comfortable making that claim on this podcast.
Yeah, I assume that there aren't many planets with that many moons. But yeah, so that's the kind of the max number of moons that you can get. There is like the actual number of like attainable moons is like 800 something, and then you can kind of buy the rest for 100 coins a pop.
So wait, what happens when you when you get to 999? Do they stop selling them in the shops?
Oh. I don't know. Maybe not. It doesn't add to your tally anymore.
Okay, yeah, of course. Okay, yeah, I guess so. It's just even if they didn't, or even if they did keep selling them to you, it wouldn't matter. So, no, I don't want the details on like what the game does or like what it says. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'll get there eventually. But I don't know. Just I don't know. Give me general feelings. Like, what was it like, kind of getting to that point? Were you still like having a really good time?
Yeah, it was interesting because earlier this year was the first time I did 120 stars in Mario. It really is kind of like that extra good feeling accomplishment to like, kind of max it out. Galaxy was just, I don't know, I was just never bored of the game the entire time I was playing it. It was just always fun to, like every night I would just kind of, in bed, get my Switch out, play around for like, it end up being like an hour or something, just kind of going around, slowly chopping away at the moons. And it was cool because it's very different from go through it the first time because you spend like an intimate amount of time with each kingdom and you like learn to like really know those levels inside and out. And like I kind of have memories now of like those few nights when I was just in the Wooded Kingdom, and weird stuff like that. Just really appreciate just like how well designed all those levels are and how actually crazy it is that there are just that many of these moons in the game.
Yeah, did you get to a point where you're like on your first playthrough, you're like, well, that level was kind of a dud, and then you went back, you're like, oh no, actually, I love this level.
Yeah, well, I think the levels I still thought were the weaker levels, like, which are probably the Snow Kingdom and the Lake Kingdom. Lake Kingdom maybe was a little bit better on the revisit. Snow Kingdom is probably still the weakest of them.
Right, okay.
But I mean, the ones that like emerged as my favorite were probably the ones that seemed. I think the one that definitely holds up better when you go back to it is Sand Kingdom, because when you're doing that the first time, you really are almost kind of like on this linear path. You don't even realize how kind of open that actual level is. So that was cool.
Luncheon Kingdom is kind of doing the same thing for me, where it wasn't linear, but I was just like, I don't know if I dig this. It just kind of seems like you're just doing this one thing. Right. And it turns out there's a lot more there.
Yeah, no, that kingdom also gets a lot more interesting.
It's a lot better. Yeah. That's still a very good game. I am still playing it when I honestly should be playing other things now.
It's the same way. I really shouldn't have been playing, but I should have been like, I can 100% this later. I already beat it. It's what I wanted to play. It was just
I know, yeah. For real, that's where I'm at. Yeah, it's a very good game. It's
one of my new favorites ever.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm not sure, and I haven't thought about this. This isn't me being like, oh, I'm not sure, Mike. This is me going, I'm not sure because I haven't put the time into it because I don't have to yet. And I probably won't until Game of the Year. I'm not sure where I'm putting it in terms of placing it next to Zelda. in terms of like what my top 3 is going to be. I'm pretty sure no matter what, PUBG is going to be number 3. We could talk about that
Makes
later.
sense. I would figure.
Yeah, but I'm like,
yeah, I can I can tell you what my top 2 are going to be probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Easily, right?
Yeah, for sure, no problem. That's gonna be a tough one for me, I think. So yeah, we'll figure that out as we move into December and get into Christmas time and start doing some Game of the Year stuff. What else? I mean, I see you've been playing Forza 7. Tell me that you plugged in an Xbox One X over the weekend, right?
Right. Yeah, I actually got that same kind of press bundle thing you did.
Right, comes with like a stack of like.
Comes with
I don't know if I ever actually talked about this. Yeah, a stack of codes for like every Xbox One X like major game.
Yeah, it was pretty.
It's swanky.
I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of nice. So yeah, I mean, I got a lot of these games that I had yet, and Forza is one of them. It is a very good. Hey, look how pretty this thing looks kind of game.
Right.
Besides that, like I wish I only enjoy doing that kind of racing thing so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It was fun, but I don't know if it was fun to go through it and see how pretty it looks. I don't know if I need to play it again.
No, I don't blame you. I mean, I really put a lot of time into Forza 5 when it came out, and I thought that was a very good game at the time, and then a little less with Forza 6. And now I'm like at the point where, I don't know, the progression does seem a little odd with the with all the loot boxes and stuff. So maybe I can not play this one as much.
That's probably true, but like that's not even really what's gaming. It's just like, again, if I'm going to play this kind of a racing game, I really would have it lean more towards the Horizon style, right? That's just a little bit more interesting for me.
And I'm saying, like, I'm like at a point where I'm like, I do like that kind of racing a lot, and even I'm like at this point where I'm like, I don't know, I don't need it. So I could imagine if like you already favor the other kind, that would make sense. Assassin's Creed Origins, I played a little bit more than that. These one of the games where I'm trying to decide if I'm going to spend my very finite amount of time at this point of the year playing this or going back and playing some of the older games from earlier in 2017. And I'm still on the fence where I'll boot it up here and there, and then I'll fall off pretty quickly. Although I could tell that I'm like, I could really enjoy this.
It is hard because
what are you thinking?
It's a good game in a year where there are a lot of special games. It's so much so that you almost kind of feel like you're wasting your time if you're not playing a special game.
Yeah, that might be exactly what I'm feeling.
Yeah, so I mean, I really liked Assassin's Creed for a long time. I was really into that series. And I was one of those people who kind of dropped off right when Unity came out. Like, first it was, the kind of bad press about it. And then, like, once I didn't play, I'm like, you know what? I don't really feel like I missed anything in my life. I really was fatigued. So it's nice to have that break and to kind of come back to it. And, it is fine, but it is ultimately still a bit of I kind of played before. The things that are new, especially the combat system, that is a very nice change. I am glad that they went forward.
You're liking the combat?
Yeah, I think that was smart. I think that, helps a good deal. But I don't know. It's fun, and it's really like Assassin's Creed is very good at being a kind of travelogue thing, right? Mm-hmm. That was one of my problems with Unity. I was like, I don't really want to go to Revolutionary War France. That sounds kind of rough. But ancient Egypt, oh, that's neat. This is fun and stuff. So it's nice to like look around and see how pretty things are. But I guess the problem is we have so many of these Far Cry Raider games,
Mm-hmm.
And I mean this year, if you're gonna play one of those a lot, it's probably gonna be Horizon.
Horizon, yeah.
And that's kind of thing is like I do kind of, like, even though it's not fair, because as good as the world is, how nice it looks, the game still has some of that Assassin's Creed, even like worse than some of the other games where story-wise it's just a little, animation-wise has always been kind of rough. Like the way this game starts is kind of bizarre because they're so desperate to get you right into the action, right into the game, and they don't really bother investing you in anything.
Yeah, I think that was a mistake. Like, I get the impulse there of like, oh, let's just throw them into it, but the stuff they throw you into isn't interesting. It's just not.
Right.
I was bored.
Right. It's like literally you are immediately assassinating somebody, and it's like, well, who's this guy? And like, you kind of get an idea of what happened, and it's a pretty generic revenge thingy in the end. And I guess some of the intrigues coming later, but compared to like kind of the build up to Assassin's Creed 2, right, where you're like starting off as this, as Enzo, and he's like kind of just this playboy, and these things happen, and it just seemed like a much smoother progression. Even Assassin's Creed 3, a lot of people criticize that game for having a very slow start. I kind of liked it in a way, because it really got me invested in it. I really got to, like, meet some characters and learn about them and get slowly, get put into that world. This one really does just you know, and we sometimes celebrate games that get you into things quick. This might be a little too quick.
I mean, I think there's a way to get people into stuff quick while also delivering all that exposition and stuff at the same time.
Well,
or doing it with such panache that you don't care.
yeah,
and I
like
don't think it does that.
Zelda was able to do it so quickly because it doesn't really have much exposition, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's able to explain all that relatively quickly.
Right, and you're going in with a lot of expectations for a Zelda game, and like part of that game is just like figuring out, oh, this is how this game works. That's okay. This is fun. I'm having a good time just doing that stuff. And then when it starts like doling out the little bit of story it has, it's like, oh, it's like a little bit of a mystery. We're figuring that out as well. That's cool. Assassin's Creed. I mean, even with the changes, it's still a much more known quantity.
Yeah. What do you think about the whole like eagle thing? Because Far Cry Primal has something pretty similar.
Yeah,
and
so
I don't know. I don't know if I'm just kind of getting over like this whole like tag an enemy and now you can track them magically thing. I wonder if that's hurting stealth games.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I mean, it's the exact same thing as the drone in Watch Dogs 2, which I'm not sure if you played anything.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's the exact same thing. Like instead of like, you know, at least like in like a Metal Gear Solid 5 or some of the older Far Cry games, at least you had to at some point be in their line of sight to find them. So a lot of times you're sneaking around, not even to kill people, but just to find people. Now you just got to get anywhere near. You push a button and you're just flying anywhere you want to. You can easily tag anybody who's like not underneath a roof or a cave.
It does seem like shorthand, like a shortcut to get to a point where, all right, we want to build these huge spaces and we want to fill them with enemies, but we don't want to make it so difficult or like you know, rinse and repeat and try again that people get frustrated and give up. So what can we do? And like, we'll just do this in all of our games. That seems fine. So I'm still like at a point where tagging an enemy and seeing them is that part is fun. But like tagging the 8th enemy in the same spot in the same area, then I'm like, oh man, okay, I'm probably going to do all this work and I'm probably still going to miss one. So I'm still going to deal with the same problem all over again. And I'm not actually playing the game. It doesn't feel like at that point anymore. So
right, it's not really much. Yeah, it's not really much of a. I guess it's kind of game you're looking for people, but it's not all that hard. I don't know. Yeah,
it's
just
you
do a lot of it, and I'm like, oh, I'm the eagle again.
You do a lot of it, right? So yeah, I don't know. I think you're right that they need to find a balance between those two things. I like having the option, I guess. I don't know. Maybe the eagle ends up doing a lot more, like the drone. I think you could upgrade and do a lot of stuff with in Watch Dogs 2. Maybe they can do that here, make that more interesting. So yeah, I've been playing a few things as well. In addition to Assassin's Creed Origins, I played the PUBG update where they added vaulting. So now you can like, you know,
get over
scramble over fences and stuff like that. And I'm surprised at like how sort of well it works, and it looks really nice. Like it's really well animated, and it activates on like one button press. You always feel as if when you hit that space bar to do the jump, and you're right in front of something, you know it's just going to work. And that is a really weird thing in this game, to have something that's like well made and not janky, and it still exists in this janky framework. Everything around it is still very weird. But it does feel like an indication of where the game is headed far down the line. Like this is part of the 1.0 update that is coming out soon. At the end of December, I believe they said.
1.0.
1.0, yeah.
Huh?
Oh yeah, official release. But again, that term is meaningless because it is just this very well made thing inside this janky product. And it works. It's fun. It's fine. But it kind of makes me realize, I want the rest of the game to get to this level of polish as well, and it's not. I still like the janky game. I still had a great time with that throughout this year. But it's just very.
Would you have maybe envisioned back when you were first getting to PUBG that by this point it would be less janky?
I don't know. Like, what do you mean? Like, do you think it's about the same amount of janky as it always was, or what?
Oh, I don't know. You know more. That's why I'm asking you. Like, do you think it's progressing to become less janky at a reasonable rate?
I don't know. It's not too far off the pace that I always kind of thought. I mean, sure. Okay, so maybe at the very first time I played it, I'm like, maybe the next time I play it, it'll be like they'll add some other new polish. But by like the second week, and I realized no, their rate of updates is going to be this very deliberate thing, and they're focused on some features and getting the feel right before they're going to start cleaning up these edges. So I realized like no, it's probably going to be it's going to feel like this for a very long time. That's one, like, so having that feeling and then getting to this point where I'm playing this update, it's only on the the trial, the public trial server or whatever, and seeing this thing that actually is less janky and looks like it could be in a AAA game. It's very like unsettling to be playing that all of a sudden and be like, okay, they actually have a lot of work to do here, if they're gonna really deliver on the promise of this game. I don't know. It's a strange feeling to have. I've also been in my attempts to catch up on games. I'm playing a little bit more Nier, trying not to bounce off it. I'm starting to, I think, get to the points where the game is beginning to ask or pose some interesting questions about the world and the robots and the characters.
Are you still in the first playthrough?
Yes, I'm very early still. I think too, like just a couple hours in. But I'm starting to see the appeal of the world building and the story. I dropped the difficulty all the way down to easy, so I could just kind of spam through it.
Yeah, it's already pretty easy, Jeff.
I know it is, but I'm like, I don't ever want to feel challenged because I want to see if I can get through this. If I start seeing that the battle system has some depth to it, like some real depth to it beyond like adding these different, mod chips or whatever, I'll dig it.
That's fair enough.
I'll turn it back up, but it doesn't feel that way so far. So I'm like, I'm not gonna really waste my time with that. Because I do understand that's it's about experiencing the story, actually playing through it, not just watching the videos and then doing it again. And people are making big promises about what that does, so I want to see it for myself. That is one of the games that I definitely want to try to get through before the end of the year, though.
Yeah, I think it'd be good.
The only other game right now that I've been playing a lot of is Hitman.
More Hitman.
Yeah, they released the Game of the Year edition, and it actually has a whole new campaign, basically. So what they did is they took 4 of the existing stages and remixed them and added a lot more details and changed the skyboxes and the time of day. So you'll be in Sapienza, but now it's nighttime. And it's really cool to be back in these places and doing different things. And the story, it's actually pretty cool. I'm about halfway through, and I understand by the end of the 4th chapter, it's like a 4-chapter campaign. They do some really crazy stuff, so that's one I want to see through as well. But that game's still very good. That game, just all the wacky stuff that they put in there. Like the first one, you're chasing down this death cult leader, these 2 death cult leaders, and you get to infiltrate the cult, of course, and pretend to be one of their members and be there when they're doing their death cult stuff and setting stuff up to explode.
But do you get to summon a magic eagle to tag all the enemies?
No, but I'm really hoping I'm gonna keep replaying this mission because I'm hoping they actually summon death and I can pretend to be death and come in and kill. I'm hoping that's there. This is the kind of game where you think that sort of thing might be possible and you go to try it and you're surprised. Oh yeah, it actually is totally possible. The developers thought that through. So we'll see. I'm going to give that game some more of my time, but maybe not too much more, again, because we're just running out of daylight before the middle of December when we're going to try to do our game of the year. Yeah, it really is. It's a month away, not even. Okay, Mike, let's get on to news. How's that sound?
Okay.
Do you want to talk about Star Wars Battlefront 2?
Yeah, they had a busy week there, huh?
Some shit happened.
It's funny it's funny that a lot of downvotes can actually mean something.
Yeah, is that the lesson to be learned here? I guess it is. If it's enough.
I think the lesson to be learned here is that it's been happening, but the idea of an internet gamer being different from a mainstream gamer is kind of done now because everyone's internet savvy.
Yeah,
so there is a large enough portion of your consumers on Reddit now,
right?
And who are reading whatever's trending there. That matters, and it could affect your game sales and stock price.
Yeah, and it seems like it might have done both to EA. The stock price did take a dive at the end of last week after they announced that they. So let's just get the headline first. EA turned off in-game purchases for Battlefront 2. You can't buy in-game currency and then spend that on loot boxes. It all just exists in the game without your real money being taken into consideration in any way. This is a temporary change. The microtransactions are going to come back after EA gets some time to fudge with some stuff. We have no idea what that's going to look like. After EA made this announcement on Friday, its stock price did dive 2.5%, which was way below what the market was doing overall. And it seems like the game is maybe not selling very well. Just early numbers, the UK, which is always the first one to come out with legitimate sales numbers, physical sales for the game were 60% down compared to the first game. that's kind of right in line with like. I reported a few weeks ago, maybe not even like maybe it was early last week, that pre-orders for the game in October were down 60%. So that's like right in line with that same number. So maybe this is just people feeling burned from the first game or some other factor. Battlefront 2 just isn't exciting because the first one was like, oh, this is a new Star Wars game, but now like let's get another Star Wars game that's not just the same thing over again. So it could be that, but Mike, I don't think you're wrong when you say it's a significant online population that is influencing people buying games everywhere. So yeah, this was nuts. This was kind of insane.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, what? You almost want to be like, oh, maybe the reaction is too big, but it's like, you know what? Why was EA doing this? Why were they messing around this? And it really was. I mean, they already messed with it before. Like, their initial idea of what would be, like, an acceptable progression system in this game was just kind of absolutely bonkers. And even when the game launched, there's the fact that you can have a special edition of the game that just gives you things like better grenades. Like, not even just, like, a different grenade, but a grenade with a bigger blast radius.
Yeah, did you use that code that came with the Xbox One X? Because I think it's a code, it's that version of the game.
Like, that's insane to me. For your multiplayer shooter, like, oh, what do we give people in the special edition? We give them a soundtrack. How about, like, a statue? Even just, like, the in-game currency to get loot boxes. Now, here's just a better grenade.
To me, it says we don't really care about the competitive integrity of this game.
Well, there's competitive integrity, but that's even just, like, I want to play a couple rounds and... oh, I can't kill this guy as fast because he has like a thing that gives him more health. That's
but I mean, like just fairness, like beyond like the pro style like competitive idea of competitive integrity. Just like if I'm gonna go play chess, I want to know that I'm gonna have all the same pieces as the other person, even if I've like only played chess a couple times in my life, like in reality. To me, it's not gonna be fun if it's not fair from the get go, unless your game is built to be. Not the same, like unsymmetrical, basically, where it's like two different sides with two different, qualities of weapons. But that's not how this game is built. This game is built to be like, oh, it's two teams of relatively similar capabilities going up against one another. And so, yeah, so when I see something like this person bought the special edition, just gets a better grenade, and most people won't be able to get that for a long time because it's not like it's just like the next best grenade. There's like 4 tiers of better grenades, and this one's all the way at the top, and that probably takes hours and hours and hours to unlock, and that's just one of the things you can unlock. So you might be putting stuff into different areas. You might get unlucky and never get this better grenade out of the loot boxes. It's just dumb.
The crazy thing is that other people have kind of figured this out, right? You can either do the Call of Duty Titanfall model where you unlock things as you play, and it's not necessarily better weapons. Like, one of them might end up being better. Like, people are like, oh, this gun's kind of pretty good. But they're just different weapons. You don't get, like, the AK-47 that does plus 10 damage. It's not like that. It's just, here's the different gun. Or you do the Overwatch thing where everyone is just the same, and you're unlocking cosmetics. So kind of, like, try to mix those two things, but then also just have, like, actual improvements as part of it, like buffs. It's just bizarre.
I mean, I get why EA thought they could maybe do that. I mean, actually, I don't. But like, they do FIFA Ultimate Team, and that works, and people mostly don't complain. Although they do complain about that. It's a smaller audience that's quieter. Also, it's a side mode, and there's still the completely pure version of multiplayer of FIFA that people could play that if they want.
That would have almost just been the quick fix to have some kind of like. Maybe separated at least so there's a mode of Star Wars Battlefront which is just like locked loadouts for each of the classes,
right?
Or in like locked heroes for each of the maps. I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, like I like again another thing I reported last week is they were considering an Overwatch style mode that would have had relatively static heroes, where everyone kind of understood them and learned them, and team composition would have been a very important part of this mode. And the way they were going to monetize this is just selling hero skins. If you look at Battlefront 2, if you go look at the live game right now, and you look at like all the hero characters and Luke and Leia and Boba Fett or whatever, they have all these different emotes and they have all these different like the windscreen poses, just like Overwatch. The one thing they don't have are the character skins, and so my reporting basically said that Lucasfilm wasn't going to play with this. They didn't want to do it for some reason. A big part of it likely could be is that it takes months for Lucasfilm to approve these sort of things.
Right.
And so in the final game, they're not monetizing, but also there's almost none of them. Like there's a bearded Han and a non-bearded Han, and there's a Kylo Ren with a mask.
It's so bizarre.
And a Kylo Ren without
characters change costumes like every 10 minutes. It feels like.
Right. Yeah, and it's like
well, just with Luke alone, you could have had like the Tatooine Luke, could have had the Starfighter Luke. The,
battle damage,
Echo base,
Luke.
Echo base Luke's. I mean, that's just I'm like through 1.5 movies.
Right.
There could have been a zillion things. Old person Luke. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's insane that that they couldn't make that work for whatever reason. But they didn't, and so they basically EA's like, okay, well that was going to actually be a big part of our revenue for this game, so we're going to have to rely more on star cards. But boy, is that seems like the
Star
lazy
cards
option.
Are so bad. Star cards is.
It's such a it's really bad. It destroys the progression, and it's going to make people scream, "Pay to win," and they're right. It absolutely is. It's nuts. I don't know.
And it's upsetting because I want to have like the cool Star Wars multiplayer shooter thing. Like you even defended Battlefront 1 quite a bit when people were kind of against that. And it's like frustrating that this game could have finally been like the better version of that. And in a lot of ways it is, but it's just completely. It really is just really hampered by something. I mean, you're playing it. I'm not really playing it yet. I mean, aside from all that junk, what do you think of the game?
It's pretty much the same. It's the same as the first game, pretty much. It feels very similar. The shooting, it feels like a dice shooter. The hero versus hero mode feels very loose and not refined in the way that you would kind of hope. Like I was comparing it to Overwatch in the past, saying, "Oh, this game doesn't benefit from getting compared to 2 years of people playing Overwatch." You play that hero mode, and it's just like this is whack. It's really boring and stupid, and it's not. I don't feel like the powers are that consequential. You're just kind of spamming them over and over, hoping something happens. Whereas Overwatch is just so refined and beautiful and perfect, and this game's not. And then the best part might actually be that they really, really nailed the the Starfighter mode.
Yeah, that was actually one of the most impressive things in the beta. That mode felt pretty good.
Which
is weird that they did such a good job with the fighter, like the fighter mode.
Well, that was Criterion, I guess, completely 100% made that. So,
well, maybe they should have made that game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Are we gonna get a good Star Wars game soon? You think, like a really, really good one to be excited about again?
I don't know. I mean,
it's like it's like this is almost making you forget that like the whole thing with Visceral happened not too long ago.
Yep. And completely put that game into the ground. It's gonna change. Like the assets from that game will continue and live somewhere else. And people at the time were saying it's gonna be like a Destiny clone, and I'm starting to believe that more and more. I don't know. I think maybe the Respawn game could still be very good. EA bought Respawn. They own that now, and that game's definitely going to happen. Or it's definitely going to continue until
for a while.
Yeah, for a while. And the rumor is that's going to be a Jedi game of some sort.
It's definitely going to be a Jedi game. That was one of the things that came out of.
Yeah.
What people were saying, one of the things that going against Visceral's game was that there weren't any Jedis, and they just didn't understand it.
Oh God, I hate that.
Yeah, I know, it's annoying.
So I mean, maybe Respawn's game will be good, but I feel like that's going to be an anomaly where the other games won't be.
So it's you know the phrase like the current age is never the golden age. Like back in like that kind of like late 90s, early 2000s, I thought nothing of the fact that it seemed like 4 Star Wars games were coming out every year.
Yeah,
and like a lot of them were really good. And like sometimes they wouldn't be that good, but again, they're still fine. Like I can't imagine like now like it ever being like that again, where they were just giving the license to anybody who wanted it. It felt like there's just all these games coming out, and a lot of them were really neat. And now it's like.
Yeah, a lot of them were like reasons to buy systems, like the early Rogue Squadron games, and
Rogue Leader, and, Republic Commando,
on Xbox, and
KOTOR.
stuff,
I mean, these were like really I mean, KOTOR is like Game of the Year stuff, right? Like, when's
Right.
the next time we're gonna say like that Star Wars game was like a contender for Game of the Year?
Yeah. I
I
mean,
don't know.
who knows? Yeah. Like
Because it's just muddled up in so much. Like, there's the EA thing where EA is not really making a lot of prestige games to start with, but then it does seem like this detriment to have to try to work with Disney on this and Lucasfilm, and it's like kind of this because and maybe they have a right to be protecting it because it is such a big investment.
They have their vision and they want it protected, but yeah.
But it does seem detrimental to maybe making an exciting video game. Maybe it can help make like a decent game that can make money, but I don't know.
You know what all this
the whole Battlefront 2 thing is just a bummer, man, because it's just it should have been better and
a fucking bummer. You know what it makes me think of? All this effort that EA puts into here, and they're building this game as a service. It's a game as a service, live services. All our games are live services now. And it reminds me of esports, where publishers come out and said, here's our esport. Here's our competitive game, our pro game. It's going to be an esport. It's starting to feel like we're going to get to a point where, no, the gamers decide what's a service. Because if you pop up a tent somewhere and you start selling something and you're like, oh, I'm going to provide a service. I'm a service. But then no one shows up and no one actually wants that, or they just buy the one thing and they never come back to you again. You're not a service. You're just like this thing that kind of exist in flux or exist for no reason. Where like again, not to keep going back to this game over and over again, but Overwatch, Blizzard set this game up and they like, no, this is going to be a really great game that people are going to want to keep coming back to and wanting to engage with in other ways. And we're going to build up the models of business around that. Here's some cosmetic stuff that you can keep buying if you want. If you're one of the people that really connects with this game, EA was like, no, if you're anyone who's going to buy this game, you are part of our service, whether you want to be or not. Like, that's just the way it is. I don't know. It seems like going forward, publishers are going to have to be very cautious about just declaring something a service. It has to like prove itself first, I think.
No, I think you're exactly right. I mean, it's one thing for maybe, Call of Duty to have some sort of a microtransaction store, but like Battlefront 2 already had a lot to prove, right? And they were doing that with the marketing. Look, we have all the content this time. So then to like just really test the limits on this other thing with the progression.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot too, because they keep telling investors over and over, live services are the thing. Live services are the thing. And if they have to start stepping back from that in any way, people are going to get spooked. So yeah, I already kind of touched on the other story. We don't have to really talk about this. Just the Overwatch style mode that's coming, or was going to come and got.
I do feel like maybe, I mean, getting hindsight, but man, wouldn't it have been better if they just made a more of an Overwatch style Star Wars games that was just all heroes, and like every 3 months they could add a new famous Star Wars character to it. And
boy, that sounds like a perfect game. Yeah,
and like you don't get too wrapped up in maybe the canon of it. You could just say it's a holo projector thing again, whatever. But
but then like a new,
but it'd be fun.
Yeah, but then like the new season of Star Wars Rebels starts, and you have one of the characters from there joins, and we have a Rebels event, and then the new Star Wars like offshoot comes off, and you add that character, and you have the Han Solo spinoff event.
Like, oh look, Episode 9's out. Here's Rey's skin from that movie.
Yeah, exactly, and like it just kind of works itself. Battlefront 2 as it's built. I don't know if it could support that sort of event based structure. Because what mode do you put it in? Like, there's a bunch of different modes. Do you have to build an event for each one of these modes? And am I going to be buying characters, or do I just get the characters? And if I get the characters for free, how do you monetize them? Because I'm not going to be buying skins for them.
I mean, we've already kind of seen it with like their mobile games, which are all very character focused, right? The role playing one, the one that's kind of a Clash of Clans style thing. I mean, I forget the names, but they're both pretty popular from what I understand. They're both, again, just centered around heroes, and they do pretty well.
Yep, boy, that's another. God, we're going to keep talking about this game, but that's another thing. Like, is AAA blockbuster gaming? I mean, there's a lot of money to be made, but is it just too much of a risk? Why not just keep making these mobile games for $50,000?
The weird thing about Star Wars is that the mobile games have been working better. Like, they're actually better games. I mean, you could do it. I think you could do it. They're just doing a bad job of it.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, look at Lord. You did MP not so long ago. Shadow of War was the #1 game in a pretty competitive month. I think that's super impressive. And that's a franchise, Lord of the Rings, that doesn't really have anything like right now, right? The Hobbit movies were a bit ago and weren't even that well liked, but people are still like, yeah, Lord of the Rings game, cool, sell a bunch of money because it's well made, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even that thing had like the orc controversy, but at least that was in a single player game, whatever.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the loot boxes there being kind of a distraction. People definitely got mad about that, but it didn't seem to be enough.
They also, well, yeah, they also because they don't have to ever like maybe compete against somebody who's buying orcs, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We should move on. On this kind of similar topic, CD Projekt Red said it was considering games as a service. It wanted to do that going forward, or something along those lines. They walk that back a little bit in a tweet, and I'll read the tweet. Worry not when thinking Cyberpunk 2077. I couldn't remember what CP stood for a second. Think nothing less than The Witcher 3. Huge single player, open world, story-driven RPG. No hidden catch. You get what you pay for. No bullshit. Just honest gaming like the Wild Hunt. We leave greed to the others. Man, 280 characters is a lot.
Yeah, right? Yeah, these tweets are just like statements now.
So the reason I wanted to include this is it seems a bit weird for this to come out because just the other week there was a lot of word around CD Projekt Red that employees were feeling discouraged, that they weren't being well compensated, they're being paid less than other developers in the same country. And the leadership is somewhat questionable. Things like this. A lot of this stuff was popping up. And it's like, okay, so are we going to get this game with no bullshit because there's people at the studio who are suffering and not getting paid as much, or they might have to work nonstop up until the game's released, and then their job is cut instead of working up nonstop till the game's released, and then they have to keep making content because their game is a service. Does this statement ring true to you, Mike, or is there something else here?
I don't know. It is this bizarre thing where we have to. These companies kind of they have to tell investors one thing and kind of gamers another, right? Yeah. Like, don't worry, we're definitely going to keep making money off of this. It's going to be great. We have microtransactions. Like, guys, don't worry about those microtransactions, by the way. They're like totally bullshit. We're not like greedy like those guys. It's like,
oh man,
it's like who knows what to think. I mean, I guess the one thing here is that Witcher 3 was a game that handled this stuff very well. But it's funny how even that seems like a long time ago compared to now and where we are with microtransactions and these kind of things.
Yeah, it does seem like these companies are all run by cheating husbands that have to lie to their family and stuff, and then they come back and like buying expensive watches for their girlfriends on the side or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, but sometimes they like buy you 5 extra presents at Christmas.
Exactly. So. Yeah, they take away the microtransactions they were charging you. Vivendi has no plans to take over Ubisoft for the next 6 months.
Oddly specific. Okay. Gosh, for the next...
Mike, I have no plans to kill you for the next 6 months.
Well, that's a relief.
Man, I can't tell if this is just okay, so both these companies are French. Is this just a French thing? Are they just fucking with each other on a
I feel like I've been hearing about the Vendies could be buying Overwatch Ubisoft soon for years now. Just either do it or don't already.
I mean, I get that it's like a hostile takeover, so they're buying a little bit of shares here and there, trying to slowly get enough to get the voting rights or whatever. But like, first of all, why do you want this? This is my thing with Vivendi. You are not Yves Guillemot. However you say his name, you are not going to be able to run this company. Right. And Yves is going to dip as soon as he can after you buy that shit. That's like one of the most complicated like corporations in the world. All these different studios working together on all these projects, and I think Yves Guillemot gets a lot of the credit for that. Vivendi's going to come in there, they're going to own those properties, and they're going to tank, and it's not going to be worth anything that they are paying for it now. But man, do you think this just means like in 6 months, in one day, Vivendi's going to make their hostile bid?
I don't know. It's like I really am at this point. Like, is Vivendi ever actually going to do this? Because it seems like no one wants them to except Vivendi, and maybe that's enough.
Right.
I don't know. Hostile takeovers are weird. Did you know? Oh God, this is such a mean thing to say. Did you ever hear about like Disney's like hostile takeover fight in the '80s? Back when they were real crappy.
I've heard a little bit about it, but I'm actually super interested to hear like the details. If you want to give us, I'm
not going to tell you.
Give me the quick version.
the guy was gonna buy them, and they were freaking out about it, and that's what basically led them to getting Michael Eisner in from Paramount and a bunch of other things. But it's just interesting that even
And they
like
had the
that
guy killed. All right, I get it.
yeah, they had a guy killed very secretly. They said, but it is weird how even Disney at one point could,
right,
hostile takeover compared to where they are now.
I mean, I don't have a.
That's the weird thing about Ubisoft. Ubisoft doesn't. It's not like that's a failing company or anything. It's just
that's the thing. Like,
hostile takeovers are weird.
They are. That's what I was gonna say. Like, I have no real. I don't have a ton of history in business, so the hostile takeover is one of those things. It's like, how does this work? So people like. So you like someone could just come into your company and take it over if you don't want them to, and it's like, oh yeah, because you're publicly traded, and like all these people own your company, and they could do whatever they want with those shares. And once someone gets more than 51%, guess what? You're fucked.
But like with Disney, I think the same thing happening. Like they had to go beg, a lot of family members, like, hey, please give us your shares, so that we're not taking over. A lot of consolidating, a lot of talking to the people with like a lot of shares.
Right.
I mean, people have been blaming just in general a lot of this microtransaction stuff on the idea of like this publicly traded company, because they're always expected to show a profit and to show a better profit, and at some point you can't, so you got to start doing weird things like selling people Darth Vader.
Right. I mean, you could try to like make the games bigger and bigger so they appeal to more and more people, so you spend a lot more money, but then you spend a lot more money, so you're not going to make as much profit. Right. So yeah, it used
to be they would just make a new Assassin's Creed every year to try and make it work.
Right
Now,
and that worked for a while. Worked for a real long time.
It did work for a while. We're still working for Call of Duty.
Yeah, it might still be working for Assassin's Creed. I mean, it was number 2 behind the
1 year off. Sure,
Middle Earth game. So yeah. Okay, I think that's gonna do it for the news. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go to a break. We're gonna come back and we're just gonna kind of give some early thoughts on where we should be in terms of thinking about games for Game of the Year. We'll be right back. Hey you, yeah, you, the one trying to make a video game. I've got someone here that can help you, and that someone is Intel, which is not a someone, it's a company. But this company, they are going to help you as if they were a somebody and a someone and also a something. Check out software.intel.com/gamedev to find out how Intel is making sure all the innovation in gaming continues to happen on the PC as part of the Intel Game Dev program. Again, that URL is software.intel.com/gamedev. Sign up and start something new. And we're back. I just surprised Mike with that return.
I did. I was scared.
I threw it right on top of him. I don't give a shit anymore, Mike.
I'll calm down.
No, I'm hyped up. I'm too hyped up because it's Game of the Year time. It's time. Time to talk about the best games of the year and get really mad at each other over meaningless pieces of entertainment.
The funny thing is that me and you will not be mad at each other. We're going to scream at everyone else.
Likely
on our
not.
Staff this year.
Yeah, more than likely, you and I will be yelling at each other like not very often. Compared to the way we'll yell at every single other person on the staff. Yeah,
it's gonna get rough.
Yes,
I might just walk away.
Yeah, in the middle.
I might just say I don't care anymore. I'll be like a child. I don't care anymore. You say
take your Mario and go home. Okay, so I just wanted to get with you and ask Mike.
You want to get with me?
I want to get with you, Mike, and I want to be like, hey. What games should I be playing? In your ear, I want to whisper that. So Game of the Year's coming up. Yeah, like the middle of next month. I feel like there's a couple I definitely know I want to catch up on. But are there any other games that might be on your list that you're like, man, it's going to be a bummer if no one else is talking about this?
Well, it's not that no one else is talking about it, but amongst our own staff, I worry how many other people have played Persona 5. I know you were maybe expressing some interest in it, but never really got around to it.
Nope.
I mean, there's so many other things. It's hard to be like, with all these things that are on, like, okay, I can squeeze in this 100-hour long RPG.
The spot that Persona 5 did have, I'm like, oh, this Weeb game, I'm just going to play Nier instead, this other Weeb game. So
yeah, they're both Weeb games, that's for sure. Yeah. But I mean, in terms of the Weeb games, I think Persona might be the better Weeb game.
Really? Okay.
It's a different flavor of Weeb. Well, it's, I mean, God, it's also way less, it's still way longer than Nier is.
No, yeah, for sure. But I was under the impression that most people prefer Nier over Persona 5, although it's not a direct comparison, of course.
No, I think there's a very likely chance that Persona 5 is my number 3. For the year, but I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, well, I gave it a 97. I guess you
did. It's been a long time.
It's right. It was earlier in the year, and it's been a while. But I mean, I loved Persona 5.
Right. It feels like Zelda ate up all the talk from the first half of the year, so no one was really talking
Right.
about it anymore. So I just sort of forgot about it. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to ask like Stephanie if she's played. I doubt Jason or Dean have.
I think Jason might have played some JRPGs.
Yeah, he does,
But he
I don't know
likes
if
Western
right.
RPGs more typically.
So this is one we're actually both playing, Divinity. I'm catching up on this one because I feel like it's going to be one that comes up.
Yeah. Like I started, I'm enjoying it, but it is hard to like. All right, time to like hunker down and play a couple hours of this thing.
Yeah, on a PC. That's one of the games I'm playing on my phone. Like I'm streaming it to my phone from my PC, which makes it a little bit easier to find time to play it.
Yeah, and part of the problem is like I still like play like Overwatch a bit, like almost every day. Even Destiny 2. I've been actually playing a lot of that. Actually, I do the raid now every week. So
wow, okay. Wow, so
yeah, I'm pretty good.
Has that become like? Have people found that like, oh, we can do the raid every week, and that's maybe filling in the weekly content? Because a lot of people wanted to keep going back to that game and they couldn't. Or is this just something you guys are doing?
I don't know. Wait, a lot of people couldn't do the raid. You're saying?
No, I'm just like a lot of people are complaining because they're like, oh, there's nothing to do anymore.
Content.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, it's different for PC, right? Because we're a month behind. Because I'm playing on PC, so it doesn't bother me as much that like every week I do the raid, I do the Nightfall, the heroic Nightfall in like the weekly quests. It's a PvP, and that seems like a good amount of stuff for me. And also to me, I'm like looking at the expansion's like what a couple weeks away, maybe a little bit more. So I'm like fine with it.
Yeah.
So again, that might just be the PC, the console difference. Because I hear that too, and I'm kind of like, oh, I'm having fun. I'm fine.
Yeah. Okay. Is Destiny 2 gonna make your list? Man, it's a tough.
I don't know. There's so many good games. Probably not. Just because I am actually liking it a lot, and I am almost surprised how much I'm enjoying it. The raid actually was super well done, super fun stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's just so many things. I mean, is Divinity gonna make it? It's like I recognize how good it is, but you know, it is insane. Horizon's interesting because at the time, I think I gave it like an 88 or something because it did have some problems and stuff, and I talked about those, like some of the pacing things, the animation upping and stuff. Like when you get further away from that game, that stuff doesn't really stick with you at all. Like you don't remember that. You just remember how cool that game was, how pretty it was, how memorable the characters. It's pretty hard for any of these games anymore to kind of be memorable. And Horizon almost like some games don't benefit from coming out early. I feel like Horizon almost benefited from coming out early.
Yeah, I guess
something about it is like sticking with me to the point where even though there's games I rated higher than it, like Gravity Rush 2, which I don't think anyone else remembers that, but I like that a lot. Like now I'm like, oh no, Horizon was better than that.
I have Gravity Rush 2, and I haven't touched it. I don't think I ever booted it.
No one else has. I'm the only person who loves that series.
Yeah, I definitely want to play it, but I just never got around to it. Yeah, Horizon is another one. Like the two games I'm going to finish before the Game of the Year for sure are going to be Nier and Horizon.
Those seem pretty important, especially Horizon probably even more so.
I think more so, yes. Divinity, I will give some more time to. Let's see. Well, I'll see what happens. If I keep playing that game, that's great. If I don't, it's really long, so that'll be fine too.
The biggest one on mine that I really should be playing but haven't yet is Wolfenstein 2. I haven't touched that one yet.
So I don't think I don't necessarily know if it's going to be a top 5 contender for like our overall list, but I think it's like some of our other categories. It's going to play big in some of the other categories.
I bet it will be in our top 5 because I feel like it's going to be a game that everybody liked enough.
Yeah. That might
you know what I mean?
It might be everyone's number 5 or number 4 or something.
Yeah, like one of those things.
I guess I have that. Real quick,
Go
are
ahead.
you still going to try to go back and play the New Order first, or? I think you should just
can't happen.
Yeah,
I think I'm just gonna jump in.
Yeah, just watch like it does a pretty good job of recapping. I would just watch the video, go on YouTube and like look up a video trying to decide between Wyatt and Fergus, and like that lays out the differences, and then pick one, and then make sure it's Wyatt because Wyatt owns and is better. Although apparently that's controversial.
So like when you start the game, do you still get to pick between those two people?
Yeah, totally. There's two different timelines. Yeah. And it makes a difference. There's a lot of different stuff in each story just based on who you pick. So that's the only thing that I would, because you would really want to like know for sure going into the game. I would think. I mean, there's a lot of character moments in the first game. You'll really care about that stuff, and that carries over. But you'll catch on quickly. It'll be fine.
Is Shadow of War just lost in the mix? Is it just not good enough?
It's not good enough.
This seems like it again sold really well and people liked it fine, but nobody like I think I was saying this. I was like, no one's like really talking about how much they love that game.
I think
everyone seems to like it.
If you're talking about those games, Assassin's Creed Origins is better, and then Horizon's better on top of that, right?
Yeah. The Far Creed Raider games.
Right. I mean, you got to really stand out there, and I think
I do wonder if Origins is better because I haven't actually played Shadow of War yet. Maybe it is. I don't know.
I mean, that's the general sense I've gotten. I played a little bit of Shadow War. I played a lot more Assassin's Creed Origins than that, and Origins definitely hooked me. Even with its slow start, hooked me faster than Shadow of War. Shadow of War is just kind of ugly. I think I can't
Really? Is it?
I think the main character, his hair's like this like matte, this like
Yeah.
and then I don't know, it's just all kind of gray, and you know it's Mordor, so it's like they didn't go to a different setting, so it's like it still looks like Mordor, and that stinks. I don't know. I just
I am definitely ready for the pretty Lord of the Rings game.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of pretty places in Middle Earth. Why don't we go there? But okay, yeah. How about like on the indie side of things? Are there smaller games that you think people should be playing? I'll start with one. SteamWorld Dig 2 is one.
Yeah.
It's going to be on. I don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure it's going to be in my top 10. Once I start like doing the reckoning, maybe it's going to get kicked off just because there have been so many great games this year. But right now, I'm still feeling like, man, that is one of the best Metroidvanias that I've played in a long time. Even in a game with a year with the Metroid 2 remake. I'm still feeling like SteamWorld Dig 2 is one of the best ones.
The one I was super interested in playing and won't be able to play this year because I'm waiting for the Switch version next year is Hollow Knight, which is another Metroidvania thing that people
I'm not gonna get around to that.
really praised. I mean, they say it's great, but I'm like, well, I want to play that on my Switch, so I'm gonna wait. Was Cuphead good enough for like a serious Game of the Year contention?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like definitely worth playing. I like it a lot, but is it like a top 5 Game of the Year? Probably not. Golf Story is probably the best indie game I played this year so far.
Which one?
And I saw Golf Story. And I saw
Golf Story.
some ways to go.
I like Golf Story a lot. Yeah. I'm wondering if it's gonna make my cut. I feel like I enjoy that game. I have a lot of affection for it, but now that I finished it, it's like it was very nice. It was very nice.
I actually,
it was pleasant.
It's kind of weird because I do have to kind of like now jump back into it because I was pretty far in it, and then Mario came out, and I like switch over to that.
I don't know. You'll probably be able to finish that.
Probably fine. It's probably not hard to jump back into.
Right now, I feel like I'm just like ready to do our Game of the Year because I want to be like Shovel Knight Spectre Torment has to be on our top 10. That game's so good.
I didn't even think about that. Like, does that count? It's weird, right? Because it's like the new campaign for Shovel Knight. But man, was it good?
Yeah, but it's like it's not that it's not that like different. Well, I mean, I guess some of the levels are just remixed levels, right? That's the thing.
But like, some of them are, but less so than it was in Plague Knight.
Right. I think to me it meets the barrier of entry to become like its own standalone game.
And it was so good.
It's very, very good.
So I can't wait for King Knight. I can't wait, but even beyond that, I like really can't wait just to see like what's the next thing. Shovel Knight 2 even, what does that look like?
Right.
I can't wait.
Yeah. I don't know. There's not too much else that I feel like people would have to play because I mean, there's just so much that no one's going to go around to most things, and at a certain point, you start saying, "Oh, you got to play this, you got to play that," to a point where you have more than 10 games. Just on the games that you should play, let alone the games everyone knows are going to make the list. So, I will also say that I am like you. I still feel like Game of the Year has to be either Mario or Zelda. Yeah,
but
me too.
I know people who disagree. I am surprised though. It just seems like the further we go along, there's more people who are like, actually, Zelda was bad. I don't get it.
That's nuts.
It's like that's I know, and Anthony's one of them.
Yeah.
Honestly,
we'll have a real talk about whether or not he's invited to Game of the Year. I'm not sure.
I think he'll be there.
I think he might be, but maybe we'll tell him a different day than what it actually is.
There we go.
I don't know. Maybe Metroid Samus Returns.
That was super fun. Sonic Mania. I love Sonic Mania.
Yeah, that's
going to be on my list somewhere for sure. Man. Okay. I love Sonic Mania.
Yeah, Cuphead is a game I think everyone played, so it's not like we need to like recap that, but it's like a game people might forget about. I think sometimes. I guess I don't know. As we're doing the various different categories of awards, Cuphead will probably come up a bunch. So we'll see.
I'll tell you what, Samus Returns is definitely the 3DS game of the year. We can call it.
Yeah, Samus Metroid Returns. Yeah.
Samus Metroid Returns. Metroid Samus returns to the returning.
Definitely the 3DS game of the year for sure. I don't know. Here's one: Call of Duty World War II.
I have a code for that, and I can play that now.
Play it. I want you to play it. You gotta help me out.
You want me to play?
I want you to play. Help me out here, man. Just do me a solid.
I have to play all of it. Can I play some of it?
You could just play some of it. Yeah, for sure. Just play some of it, for sure.
Okay. And see how I feel after that.
Yeah. See if it grabs you. Man. Play Wolfenstein 2, though. For sure.
Yeah, how mad would you be if
I'd be so mad.
play World War II but don't play Wolfenstein
Right,
2?
yeah. For God, man. Oh, I'm not looking forward to that conversation. Dean is such a fanboy. He's such a fanboy.
He loves his Call of Duty.
He loves his Call of Duty. All right. I don't think there's much else to go over here, Mike. Anything else sticking out to you, or should we just get the hell out of here?
Oh, I think we covered all the big ones. Maybe we missed something. But
well, I'm sure other people would have other things to bring up. We'll see. Puyo Puyo Tetris. That's one. We'll see.
I actually did like that, but I think that actually came out for like
You're right.
PlayStation 4 in Japan earlier.
It's
something
it's
bizarre like
game.
that.
Yeah.
Although to be
I guess they never did come out in America. Well, yeah, whatever. Okay, so that's going to do it for the GamesBeat Decides podcast this week. Mike, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on the internet?
You can always find me at GamesBeat, writing about those video games. Also, I'm on Twitter at Tolkoto. And I also do the Exploding Barrel podcast with my brother every week. That's at ebpodcast.com.
And I'm on Twitter at Jeff Grubb. youtube.com/JeffreyGrubb. Still trying to do some PUBG family dinners when I can. It's busy time of year, so it hasn't been happening recently. I had my mother-in-law here this week, so like last Friday I was going to do it, but then I ended up cleaning all night. But that would be at twitch.tv/JeffGrubb. I'm going to actually shift it over there instead of GamesBeat. And yeah, I think that's going to do it. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you for listening, and take care, all you kiddos.
Yeah, Santa's watching.